All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Stock Analysis Friday on this April 11th, 2025. Nice to be here again. All right, so good to see everybody. And the purpose of Stock Analysis Friday, just a recap here, is the idea is type in either a stock or an ETF and tell me if you're long, short, or you're thinking about taking a trade in it, and I'll give you an analysis based off technical analysis using the software tools here at traderscoach.com, which include the art software and so forth. And so keep it about three at a time. Type in no more than three symbols at a time, and that way we keep the flow going real well. All right, so before we get going, let me just quickly do a few administrational items here. And we have to, of course, disclose the risks involved in trading the financial markets or even investing in the financial markets. Anytime you go into the markets, there's no guarantees. We work in a realm of probabilities. So therefore, you need to first only trade with money you can afford to risk in the markets, and then always try to have some form of risk control. So when you go into the markets, you know what your potential loss could be, but as well, you know what your potential profit could be. And so that's something you need to be thinking about all the time when you enter the markets. Also, too, any recommendations I make today, whether it's on a stock or a market forecast, please run those by your financial advisor or whoever manages your money to be sure it's suitable for you. I don't know your personal situation, and they certainly should and can make the final decision on whether you should be making that trade or investment. All right, so with that said, let me just cover a couple other things here. I've got a couple books on money management if you need help in that area, and those are available all on Amazon. I'll put a link in the recording for that, but you can also just go to Amazon, type my name in, and it will show up, or just go to our website. My newest book, The Art of Trading, second edition, and that's second from the left on this picture you're looking at. That is my newest book, literally just came out a couple months ago. And it's 608 pages, big book, comprehensive book, and reviews have been starting to come in on that, and they are quite good, which I'm pleased. And so you may want to pick that up as well. And of course, I have other books on technical analysis. And then finally, when we look at charts today, you may see some icons or things or indicators on the chart that you're not used to seeing, and that's because we're using our software here at traderscoach.com, and that's the OWL, ART, PTF, TLM, and ERI charting software. We have scanners as well, but we're not going to be using those today. And then we have risk control software where we actually implement a trade to get the correct trade size on every trade. We're not going to be using those as well because I'm going to be looking up stocks you want me to look up. And then finally, give us a like, okay? That always helps the channel. All right, so let me come out of here. And I just want to quickly cover the overall market situation since, of course, everybody's talking about that now. And before I get going, just a quick thing, a quick synopsis of what you're looking at here. On the left-hand side of the screen, we have a 60-minute chart. And the reason I have that up there is it gives me a look at the short-term view of the market I'm looking at. And notice I have three charts up here. They all have the same symbol. In this case, this happens to be the Dow Jones, but this will be the same for any stock I look up. And then on the center chart, I have the daily chart, which is kind of the normal chart people look at when they look at markets, and that's the intermediate look. And then on the far right, we have the weekly look, which is the long-term aspect. But the symbols are the same across the whole entire thing. And then also, too, you'll notice indicators down here. I have the same indicators, which is our software loaded in all three charts. We've got pyramids up here. That's these things forming, and reversal bars for scalping and all that kind of good stuff. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link also in the recording where you can review more about our software. All right, so the Dow definitely plunged to the downside here. We've kind of been anticipating this as, you know, we talked about the target zone being reached actually years ago, but now we're finally coming down out of that target zone. And we're at a critical area in the market. I still think we're going down a little further. And, you know, is this a bear market? It could be, but it also, we could still see more highs. All right. So we kind of got to wait a little longer to see what the market's going to be doing. I know that might not help many of you, but what I'm seeing here is a red PTF, which is our indicator on this time frame and this time frame, calling for more lows. So when you see that, it has a 75% accuracy rate. So I kind of take that seriously. But in a case like this, and it's the same across, the NASDAQ has gotten beaten up even worse than the S&P and Dow. But we're seeing the same thing. Lows not quite in yet. So on the Dow Jones Industrial Average chart, you'll see this on many of the indexes. You'll see a key level of support that we're heading to over here. And if that does not hold, if we don't get a bounce off of that, and then new highs, then of course we're going to be probably in a bear market. So what we're looking for is maybe something like this and then new highs after that. However, if instead we get this and it plunges down, then I would probably indicate that we're now in a bear market. If we are in a bear market, we'll probably reach the COVID lows, I would think, and the bear market will probably last over a year. So this could be a very decisive time in the market. So you want to be careful. If you're day trading and all, I know the NASDAQ, which I day trade, has been absolutely wild. And the volatility incredible. Normally, the average true range for like 14 price bars is around in the NASDAQ 20 to 30. It's been over 80 and 90. And that we've seen one individual price bar, even on the 1 minute time frame, of well over 80 points. So huge amount of risk. So you got to cut that trade size way down. Okay. So be careful if you do that. All right. And so that's kind of the overall market. It's hard to at this particular point jump in with long trades, even though you might want to, simply because we see some more downside on its way. So let's see, though, if there's any trading opportunities out there, because, stocks are independent. The market definitely plays a role in the overall functioning of individual stocks, no question about it. But some individual stocks certainly can go against the market. So let's see what we got here. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in. And let me go down and grab our stocks. Okay, Al, you're the first one. All right. So Al wants to take a look at 3. He's just looking. Okay. So he's not long on these. So let's take a look here. And the first one is RUSHB. Let's take a look at that. All right, let's see what we got cooking here. So I assume you're looking for a long. All right, so Al, I probably would not go long on this right now. It looks to me like we're pretty extended on the weekly chart. I mean, it's definitely still in an uptrend, and it probably has not suffered as great as the overall markets have. But you can certainly see this area in here where it's very volatile, going back and forth like that. If you drew a trend line here, you're still above the trends there. You could even draw a short-termer one up, something like that. But again, if you look at the weekly chart, you're getting in a little mature part of the trend, and we're starting to see some movement down here in the owl. So I think you can find a better candidate. Okay, I don't think I would do that one. But let's move on to your GME and see how that looks. All right, give that a second to load. Well, that's a spiky one, isn't it? Okay, so GME, all right. On this one, we have on the weekly chart on the far right, we have a green PTF. So that's indicating, even though it's pulled back, we'll have a tendency to make a higher high at some point. So the PTF is saying we'll have higher highs, but it doesn't say when, okay? And so that's the tricky part. So in a case like this, we've got a slight uptrend here, but then we broke the trend line here. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit dicey there. I see a little bit again. Nothing is yelling at me to go long on this. Okay. Um, we've got a spike up here, but look at the big pullback there. So it's pretty volatile. I'd probably not do that one myself. Okay. CLDX is the next one. All right. So this one here is heading down. We now just have a red PTF over here. So if you wanted to look for this one to find some type of support, you may have an area over here in this area here that may provide it. Okay, so we're getting close to that. But as you can certainly see, if you drew any trend lines on the center chart, which is our daily chart, you're still heading down. Okay, so I think on this one here, you might want to put this on a watch list. But I think probably we could see it go down maybe another 6 points or so, maybe a little less. So we're maybe getting close, but maybe not quite ready for a long trade yet. So but keep an eye on that. All right, thank you. And Al is back with a few more. Okay, you're short on these. Okay, PEP. All right, let's see what that is. PepsiCo. Pepsi. All right. All right. So we've got a red PTF on the weekly, so that's calling for more lows. We just finished the red PTF, and now it's neutral. It's yellow on this. So we may get a bounce off here. All right, we got a fear bar down here and a 1B. I don't know where you went in or how you went in. If you went in with multiple shares, then you could maybe scale out a little bit here because the PTF went yellow, all right, on the daily chart. So that's something you may want to consider on that one. Let's see what else we can see on this. So probably some more downside, I'd say, eventually on this. Okay, that's kind of what I would see on that one. All right, so let's put another one in here. And GM, General Motors, let's see what's going on with that. Give that a second to load. Let's see if we can get something. Okay, give that center chart a second. There it is. All right, so there's General Motors, and we got a red PTF on the 60. So pulling back on that, so you're still short. I think you can stay short easily on that one. So what I would do on this is I would go over to the 60-minute chart here and notice the red PTF here. We do have bullish divergence. So even if we get a little uptick here, we should break the low here. So when this turns yellow, probably a good time to get out. So there's nothing wrong with trading the 60-minute chart, especially in this market. So we take short, pinpointed trades. You have the software, Al, so make sure I would use that 60-minute chart to look for an exit when that PTF turns yellow, okay? I think that's kind of a good idea. All right, let's see what we got here. The next one, Stokella, how are you? SYM. Let's see what we got here. SYM. I'm going to open that up. Looking long. Okay. So on this one, no long yet. And I say that simply because this is still red over here. Technically, we still got an active downtrend on the major time frames here. We're starting to see a little bullish divergence. So the answer to this is maybe not yet, but we're maybe getting close. All right. So according to this 60-minute chart, we should eventually back down and go under $16.50. Okay, so we should back down. So I would just wait, stay on the sidelines, wait for it to reach there, and then wait for a turnaround. Wait until you can draw a trend line up. And the nice thing about that is if it goes down, bottoms, and then does that, then you can draw your trend line, and your entry can be right at the exact point that you can draw the trend line, okay? And that would be A-okay. All right, let's take a look at your next one, CRSP. All right, so no red PTFs, that's a good sign. We're starting to see a turnaround here. We're starting to see it. In other words, here's the first bounce up. This is still pretty red. This is bullish divergence. So we made one more low recently. I think we have to wait for us to see on the daily chart a trend up, something like that. So let's wait a little longer on that. You can bring that next week. But what I want to see is what happens on the next pullback. Do we go down again or up again? Or up for the first time, right? So I would hold off on both of those, okay? All right, and then your last one, I think, is you, right? And on this one here, all right, let that load completely. Okay, there we have it. All right, green PTF on the daily. That's a good sign, exactly like the other one. We still have an active fractal pyramid to the downside. So kind of wait. Let's see what happens and see if we get some strength. Again, I love waiting for this pattern because it allows you to draw a trend line, which usually is a break in structure at that point. Okay. In other words, it's changing to the upside you're looking at. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's go back to Al. He's got CNI. Let's see what that one, and he is short on this one. All right. Well, hopefully you've been short a long time because look at that weekly chart on the far right. That's a whopper. All right. So the pyramid has you short right here, off here. Okay. Got bullish divergence, no longer a red PTF here. So maybe put a stop, Al, for your short position up here. I don't know how long you've been short, so maybe above 101, because that would be a break in structure if we take that out, or at least a change in structure, I should say. All right, so I would, yeah, you could stay short to there, but if you've captured this trend all the way down, it's been a good trade. So if you just went short, maybe not so much. Okay. All right. Let's keep moving along here. All right. BJ, how are you? All right. Gold. Good one to look at. Good old GLD, which is the ETF for gold. All right. Gold is on a tear. There's no question about it. And recently, basically, the configuration has changed. Whoops, let me hit enter. Has changed. So we've got a situation now where we're in a new wave 3 to the upside. For some reason, that's not loading on that chart. Give it a second. And let's going once, going twice. Sometimes the data is like this. Let's open this chart up. So this is the 60-minute. Let's go to the daily on this one. See if we can get it on here. Okay, so here's the daily chart. And you can see it, quite a tear up here. We probably have a little bit of bearish divergence here. We just went yellow here. What I've been telling people is, yes, more highs are coming on gold, especially if the market starts to tank. But I also think it's been trending a long time. So I hate chasing markets and getting in after it's so mature to the upside. So the kind of the way I think I probably would advise people on this, wait for the pullback, okay, and then get in at that particular point. Let me just see if that other chart loaded. Okay, so they're all loaded here now. So on this one here, okay, if we draw a fib on the newest high here, we may get a correction in gold, even if it's a bull market, into this area here, and then another move up. But as you can see, we're in a major 3 here. So we're going to have to wait for that 3 to end before it pulls back. So, if you wanted to go into it now, you certainly could, but that means eventually you'd have to stomach a pullback, and the pullback's going to be fairly significant when it comes. And then after that pullback, we should see more highs. So if you're long term, I wouldn't do anything with gold except hold it. Okay. If you're short term, trying to short term trade it, I think it's a little late. Okay. I guess that's the best way I can say that on there. All right. FXE. Let's take a look at that one. And my chart's a little slow here today. FXE. There we go. All right. So give that a second to load there. All right. So while those others are loading, let's open up the weekly chart on this. And this one here, not bad on the weekly chart. And I say that because we're starting to break the structure here of this channeling market here, right? So kind of moved kind of that way. So that's a good sign. We haven't had too big of a pullback yet. And we're starting this kind of price bar here basically is a liquidity price bar, meaning that people are going long, but also two stops are getting hit for the people that were short. So that's why that price bar is so big. So it'll be interesting to see what the follow through on that is. So give that a second to load here. All right. Now let's see what we have here. I'm going to open this. So, all right. So you've had a number of pyramids in a row on this price bar that's huge here. I would say this price bar should fill at least to this mark here. So maybe if you wanted to see what happens when it get around 102 to 103, because we want to see how this is going to close for the day here, and make sure that price bar remains bullish. Okay, because that's a bullish price bar. But if for some chance there's massive selling coming in at the end of the day, and this is a long wicked bar there, that's bearish. Okay, so I would hold off on that. Okay, I probably would wait for a pullback on that one before going long too. And notice here we have bearish divergence here. So probably go a little higher, but eventually we'll get a pullback. So when something's extended like that, I always wait for the pullback. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So let's continue on here. And let me see. The next one is Lowell. Hello, Lowell. All right, let's go to TXNP, or TNXP, I should say. And you are long on this one. Okay. All right. So we got green PTF showing up. We've had a bottom for quite some time down in here. All right. I assume your stop would be under here. You have bullish divergence here and here. So 60-minute chart would have you long. The daily chart would have you long with a stop under here, but I'd probably put it down in here. So yeah, I think you could go long on this one. All right. The just technically speaking, the weekly chart is still bearish. All right, but it looks like it's starting to turn around. So not one necessarily I'd recommend for everybody, but if you're getting in so early that your entry would be right around $16 and a half, $16.68, and I would put your stop at the bottom to give it enough leeway at $5.71. That's not a lot of risk, so that would be okay. And if this starts to move up here, all right, we've got a green PTF saying eventually it'll get above 130, but even if it just retraced halfway, all right, you'd still be in pretty darn good shape. Okay, so yeah, I don't see a problem with that. All right, back to Al. All right, INCY. And short, not in. Okay, well, let's let that one load here. considering a short. All right. Let that center chart load. All right, so all the PTFs turned yellow now. These are our indicators here at the bottom, right? So they're all yellow except for this one. This one's green. So I don't think, I think it's too late, okay? Yeah, there may be a little bit more room to the downside, but again, I think it's a little late. All right, Stu, how you doing, Stuart? Good old Tesla. All right. Tesla, of course, has been hammered, but the thing with Tesla is that they're in so many things. For example, they've got a new version of their 3.0 robot coming out, and it's probably going to come out in 2026, the first version of it. And it's quite something. And I think robotics is going to be the wave of the future. And I think they're going to be predominantly in it. So Tesla, I think, is a good long-term hold, even though it's getting hammered now. But that doesn't necessarily mean this is the right time to buy it, right? Okay, so let's see. So I don't know, Stuart, if you're long, short. You didn't indicate that, so I'm not sure what you are. But if you are long and your horizon is long, you just continue to hold it. This is, all part of long-term investing is that you don't really time it as much as you do the short-term stuff. But with that said, it's gone down 50%, right? So, and you had a bearish pyramid here and you've had bearish pyramids all the way down. So if you were trading the pyramids, you would have been out more like around probably I would say, 420. And if you stayed in the longer, 380 at the most. So I don't think it's ready for a long trade here, and I wouldn't short it, okay? I think the biggest short has already been done. All right, NVIDIA. Let that one load. Okay, so NVIDIA has a little bit better structure than Tesla in that in terms of looking at things from an Elliott wave perspective, this is definitely a wave 3, okay? Now we're in a wave 4. This is the target for wave 4. So the interesting thing is when I look at a major stock that drives the NASDAQ like NVIDIA, and then I look at Tesla. Tesla has been hammered primarily for a variety of different reasons. So it may be overdone, so to speak. Since Elon got involved in politics and so forth like that, there's been a lot of controversy on that. And so people have sold out of fear that, it was basically things were going to get worse. They were burning stations and so forth. When we look at NVIDIA, we have a little bit more of an orderly type of representation here. So I'm going to rely on something like a NVIDIA a little bit more than Tesla at this point to kind of figure out the direction of the NASDAQ. So when I take a look at this and I see a 3, a 4, and a target range for the 5 above its high, and it's this clear, I kind of scratch my head and think, well, maybe this isn't the beginning of a bear market. Maybe we're going to have one more high. If we were sitting up in here and we were starting to sell off from here, then I would say, yeah, we're probably in a bear market because, major stocks in the NASDAQ like NVIDIA and so forth have topped. All right. So I'm thinking here that maybe one more high in the markets is possible when I see stocks like this. So just beware, okay? This does not fit at this particular point a bear market. And even if it goes down a little further, all right, it's already done it, okay? So, it's not going to, I'd wait for the turnaround and then go long or add on to your NVIDIA at that point. So I think in terms of when people talk about the bear market, they're talking about it lasting a year and a half. I don't see this correction doing that. I see it ending probably maybe by the end of the summer at the worst case scenario. So, and then making more highs after that, or at least starting to move up towards that level. So it's not a bear market to me, I guess is what I'm saying, looking at the video. All right, so if you've held this, I wouldn't dump it now. This is a buy zone. All right, this is an accumulation zone. All right, again, I like to see a turnaround before I buy anything, and we don't quite have a turnaround yet. But that is one I think that if you were even a long-term investor, this would be a great place to trickle into that. Okay, all right, let's take a look at Netflix. Give that a second to load. All right, so Netflix, as you can see, very, very mature bullish market on the weekly chart. We're starting to see a little bit of a pull down on here. If we were long, I think probably we'd be just about out by now. All right, and if you drew a tight trend line, okay, you could do it that way too. But this pyramid here looks like it was taken out. And so it looks like we're probably going to pull back a little bit. And we don't have any red PTFs. We do have one green PTF. So we may see one more high. But if it starts taking out, this is an A, B, C, let's just draw in a fib and see kind of where this thing is going. And possibly could get down into that area if this pullback is the beginning of a 4. And it's too early for me to tell that, simply because we don't have a red owl on the weekly chart. What's interesting here, though, it looks like we've had a 3, 4, 5. So if this is 5, that would be the top of 3. So that would certainly indicate that we're going into now wave 4 on the weekly. So if you're thinking about buying, I don't think I would do that. However, if it gets down between 720 and 508, and that 508 is a 50% retracement, almost from where, well, it is a 50% retracement from its high, almost 50% from where the prices are now. You certainly don't want to go into that right now. Okay. And again, if you're holding this for long term, are you going to worry about it coming down? Well, you may want to certainly do something to hedge your position if you don't want to have a tax implication. And there are inverse ETFs for that. All right, so that, Stuart, is you. All right. We're going to wrap it up here pretty soon. So let's just finish what we got here. All right, KR, let's see what we got there. Good job today, guys. These are good ones. All right, so KR holding. We're starting to hit the target zone on KR. Okay, so we expected it to get to 67.84 to 83. It got into the 70s. We're seeing a little bearish divergence on the short-term charts and a little bit forming here, but that's still a pretty strong owl. We may go back into that target zone. So I think what I would do here is probably have your stop on this trend line here. Okay, and if we go over to here, I think we can probably basically start here if you want a tight trend line, something like that. Okay, so kind of look at it from that perspective. I would not be buying it now. I'd be trying to look to see if the form a place where the market would take you out. Okay. All right. So KR reached its target for sure. I don't know where you got in, but if you wanted to scale out of a few here, you could do it because it reached its target, or wait until it just goes through the trend line. Okay. All right. So next one here, all right, is BP. And BP, all right, crashing down. I don't see an entry here. Okay. I get why you're looking at it. Take advantage of a dead cat bounce or something, but red PTFs on the lower time frames and no sign of a bottom right now. So don't do that one, okay? Wait a little bit. We'll take a look at it next week. You can bring it back. All right, FSLR. Let's take a look at that one. Thinking about a short, not in yet. I think it's too late. Okay, you may come down a little bit more, but I don't know. I mean, look how many pyramids you have in a row. Look how extended it is. You definitely have some bearishness on the weekly chart. I think maybe what we'll do with this, Al, is take a look at this next week. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a bounce, and that will be a better short position there. Okay, let's wait and see what happens with that. Let me see if there's any fair value gaps. Yeah, there's one here. So maybe look for a pullback. Oh, you got two. You got one here, and then you got a fair value gap here. All right. So kind of interesting. You have no bearish divergence here and here. So from a long-term perspective, more lows are coming. My only thing with this is you may get a pull-up to 150, maybe even to 180, and it's at 121. So that's a fairly significant pull-up. So I think you're a little late to the short on this leg. Try to catch maybe the next leg, okay? All right, and Alexander, let's see, silver. Silver's been a mess lately, okay? We were in it, we got out of it, and at this particular point, it seems to be going back and forth, back and forth. This was our great entry in here, all right? So we've done all right on it, but now it seems to be just, going back and forth and back and forth. This is green here. This is green here. So it should make more highs. So, if it breaks out of any of this channel that it's in now, it's almost in a pennant right now. Look, you can almost draw this kind of like from here, to here almost at this point. So, if it breaks out of that, I would say okay. Otherwise, if you're long array, just stay in it, okay? But you may have a little bit more volatility, but it won't last forever, okay? I would not recommend that as a buy, though, at this point. But if you're in it, you don't have to get out. All right, LABD. Okay, so you're long on this one. Excellent. You got green PTFs on all three time frames. So you can stay long. It did hit the target. This is an indecision bar. All right. So look how huge that bar was on that chart. We're having a bearish art reversal here. May get a little pullback, but according to the indicators, you want to stay long on that. Maybe when you have the indicators, so when they turn yellow on the daily, get out, okay? Or at least scale out. That's the way I would do that one. All right, SOXS. All right, ETF here. Okay, so this will move up when the market goes down. All right, and so we certainly saw that break out of the channel there, and now we've had this enthusiasm coming back in. But notice they're green PTFs on all the time frames. So I think probably we're going to go back up at some point. Okay, let's see. You're already long. So I would probably just have your stop at the very bottom here, okay? And try to survive this volatility and catch the next, catch it when it swings back up. And look at the size of that price bar. Huge. All the way from 55 roughly to 20. Kind of a tough way to trade that, huh? Especially with your risk control would have your trade size so small. If you were going to enter now, you would have to put your trade under here. You'd be at 25, so that wouldn't be bad. But if you'd gotten up here, you'd be in pretty big trouble with that one. Okay, so that's pretty volatile right now. All right, and we'll end it here with, well, GDX, let's see, we'll finish up. The last one today is going to be Frank's, and we'll do GDS, and that'll be it. Okay, so let's do GDXY for Al. This is the gold ETF. It says it pays nice dividends. And we looked at gold already. Okay, but let's take a look at this one. Every configuration is a little different. All right, so on this one here, again, that price bar is correct. Look at the size of that. Huge. All right, in percentage basis, not really points. But yeah, I'm not really, if you're holding this, you're not doing it really for a technical purpose. You're doing it because you believe in gold. Okay, there's nothing technically here telling me to do anything with that. All right, LABD. All right, this is one where we hit the target here. Green PTF still, so you want to hold that. Okay. All right. Oh, this is Alexander's. I'm sorry. Okay, went backwards. We did that one already. We need to go to BJ. Okay, sorry about that. All right, TSM. Let's take a look at his TSM. And you are long TSM. All right, so it's going into a corrective phase, has been for a while. The good part about this is that this owl is higher than this one. So it's not a 3, 4, 5. This is a 3. So you're kind of probably, I would think you'd be getting kind of close, maybe a little liquidity taken out down here. So I don't think that held, right? Give me 1 second. I'll just grab a quick line here. Yeah, see, it got right down to this liquidity area. And so basically, it's probably going to take that liquidity out and maybe even take this liquidity out before you see any type of turnaround. Okay. So if you've ridden it down this far, it's not done yet. It's still going down. And hopefully it would stop in this area. There's no guarantees, especially with an owl that decisively red here. I mean, these are big owls. And you've gone here. So yeah, I kind of think if it blows through this area here on the next bounce, I'd probably get out. Okay. I would not take a long position here. That's for sure. And we're going to end here on GDS with Frank. I don't remember if we looked at this one already. I don't think we did. All right. And Frank is long on this one. Going down. Okay, it's not done going down. So we got green over here, but short term, it's not done yet. Okay, so you got to be a little careful here. We've got a few areas here, just like on that other one, where you have some liquidity there. Took that out. So let's see if we get a rebound now. If it doesn't, then probably this area here could play an important role there. Okay. So, and then you got another area here as well. So, yeah, you probably don't want to be long here, but since I think, I don't know if you are or not, but if you are and you've ridden it down this far, I don't know where you got in, but let's see if we get a bounce from here to give you a chance to get out. But that's bearish. Okay. All right, guys, I think that's it. All right. So that was Frank's there, long for a small profit. If you're in a profit area, Frank, I would get out. Okay. If you haven't taken the long, don't. All right. All right. Let's see. Gene's saying give us a link. And there you have it. Okay. And Al, thank you so much. Okay. So great. All right. So thanks for tuning in. And I do think we're going to see some more downside on the market. So stay alert, so to speak. And we'll see if we can get a bounce from here. And then what happens after that bounce will kind of lay the groundwork for what's happening, I think. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you, Lowell. Great to have you here. Al, thank you. Okay. BJ, thank you as well. And of course, Frank as well. Okay. So thank you, everybody. All right. So we'll see you back here next Friday. Okay. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.